Hey guys, so this is the CHI 29 carrier by DASHEDM, and one of the most impressive survival carrier I've seen so far. And even though it's not made for PvP, as you can see, it's only 20,000 PCU, and if you delete some stuff on it, it will cost even less PCU. So the ship is kind of a masterclass in optimization as well as good survival conscious design, because it has a decent amount of things in it that are meant for survival. So the ship itself is unarmed, but if you delete some stuff, you can make it decently armed and kind of well defended. Maybe not against PvP players or ships, but against lower threat enemies like NPCs or non-PvP players that sometimes stray in your way, it can be decently defended. And of course, it's not meant to be like a PvP ship. This is more of a base ship, and for that role, it's a very well designed ship. Alright, so I'm gonna show you guys the interior. Let's get in from the back here, and as you can see, it's a very well designed ship. The designer has a very good sense of scale and how to utilize blocks to do detailing, and the kind of design language that I agree with is that it's not trying to go against space engineers' mechanical or technical design language, but instead is trying to conform to it, which is how I design the interior of my ships when I don't make it completely for PvP. It's a good way to design your ships on Space Engineers, because things on Space Engineers are mechanical and technical by design in terms of how they look. So instead of trying to go against it, if you want to make a ship that looks a certain way, it's better if you try to follow that design language and kind of transform it in ways that will achieve your intended vibe or feel of the look of your ship. Right, so right now I'm going up to the living area of the ship, and you guys will see what I mean by it being a survival conscious design. So the ship itself follow a lot of my optimization tips, like as you can see here. Instead of using conveyors, the designer used functional blocks to act as conveyors. So that's a really good design optimization technique. Here's the safe zone, and over there is the living quarters. By the way, all the things you see on the sides there are like cargo containers, refineries, and they have a good amount of them, as you can see here. All the refineries and assemblers. It has a good amount of hydrogen tanks, as you can see there, but it kind of lacks in H2 generator, because at this rate it will take like 4 or 3 hours maybe to refuel, and that might not be completely optimal. But the main way of traveling in this kind of ship is you jump around, so you won't be using the hydrogen that much. So personally, I will probably add some more H2 generators, and you can probably delete some of the lights so you can have more H2 generators. Alright, let's get inside the ship now. Now here's the living quarters. They use passage to kind of separate rooms. That's also in one of my design tips. So that's a really good use of passage blocks, because they only cost 1 PCU. And in here we see all this stuff here, and here's one of the medical rooms, and here's the cryopods. And the ship, despite the size, only have 4 cryopods. And I really love seeing that because you see a lot of ships, especially in this size, people usually put too many cryopods or beds that no one will ever use. And the ship doesn't do that. It only has 4, which is about the amount of people that will probably use the ship in survival. So there's a good amount of 1 PCU blocks usage. Like this planter is 1 PCU. So my point is, it's a really optimized ship. And if we go back here, here's the mess hall. There's kind of too many chairs in my opinion, but it's fine. Maybe you can delete 2 or 4 of these chairs and it should probably still be fine. And you'll probably save like 30 or 40 PCU by doing that. Alright, we're gonna go upstairs now. All the 1 PCU blocks in the ship. Here's a nice kind of transitional hangout area. Oh, and by the way, we are going up the island of the ship, of the carrier. As you can see here, here's the island superstructure. So we're going up there. And here's more transitional room up here. And finally, we're in the bridge. I like how they use these windows here for the roof of the ship. I've used these windows as well. Like, I start using these windows as you can see on my new ship there, because it's just a really nice window to use the viewport. Alright, I'm gonna try to move the ship in space now. So it's kind of decent for the size. Like, obviously you're not gonna win any serious PvP fights in this, but of course this is not meant for that. And with this amount of speed, you can probably do a decent amount of dodging as long as you're not too close and you can have a lot of time to jump away. Oh, by the way, the ship has 2 medical rooms and a lot of jump drives. So if you ever get in trouble with the ship, you won't be having any problem jumping away, because that's probably how you will use this kind of ship in survival. If you meet a serious PvP player, you probably want to jump away, since this is mostly a base ship and not like a combat ship at all. Alright, so we're gonna try to put some ships in the hangar now and see how much we can fit in there. So obviously with this kind of ship, you will have to play in a faction, because if you play alone, like if you play solo survival, there's no point in having this kind of ship at all, unless maybe you play with a very large amount of PCU in single player, because if you play multiplayer with a limited amount of PCU, you're obviously better off with a warship that has weapons. I'm just gonna see if we can like fit in the respawn pod in here, because one of the advantage of having a big carrier like this is you can put larger ship in the carrier. Alright, so it can fit the respawn pod, so that's probably a good thing, because if you play with friends and maybe they just got in the server, they probably still use their respawn pod, and it's kind of nice to be able to fit one inside. So maybe they can like hang around in your ship, and then when you're offline, they can get their respawn pod outside the ship and work on it, and they will mainly use the carrier as like a base ship or a production ship. So that's really nice. So what I'm gonna do right now is I'm just gonna put 2 respawn pods in here, and then we're gonna simulate an attack and see how much damage the ship will take before it can jump away from the attack. So I'm just gonna land 2 respawn pods in here. By the way, if there's any strategic advantage of having a carrier like this in terms of survival, is that you don't need to put jump drives on your other ships if you already have a carrier with a jump drive. But of course, the downside of that is that the other ships will be dependent on the carrier to jump around. So there's that. But of course, if you play with your friends a lot and you use the ship mainly for a base or a production ship and you use it to jump around, you can save some materials and build time by not needing your other ships to have a jump drive. I won't really recommend that kind of playstyle, but if you wanna do it like that, you can do that with the ship. Alright, so now I'm gonna fly by my ship and let my ship shoot at the carrier, and then we're just gonna immediately jump away. Of course, this is not representative of how PvP happens, but I just wanna see what kind of damage the ship will take before it can jump away. Alright, so imagine you're flying and then suddenly there's a ship shooting at you, and of course it's gonna take you a few seconds and then you're gonna jump away. And you're gonna try to dodge all the bullets. Alright. Oh, that's weird. Hold on. We didn't jump. I think that's because there's some things that are loose inside the ship. I'm not sure, but it's fine. We're gonna see how much damage the ship took in that 20 seconds or so encounter. So you guys remember that I still have the respawn pod in the hangar, and we're gonna see what happened to those respawn pods. Oof. Alright, so I think what happened there is the shell hits the landing gear or the magnetic plate, and the respawn pod got thrown upward and it hit some of the things over here. And let's see what happened to the other respawn pod. So in terms of defending what's inside, it's obviously not that great considering it's made out of light armor and interior block here. But again, this is not meant for PvP, and as you can see, it took quite a lot of damage just from that. So I just want to show what might happen if you got strafed or something by a PvP player or ship before you jump away, because it's kind of fun to see what kind of damage will happen to the carrier. Alright, I'm gonna try to fly this in atmosphere now and see how it performs. Alright, so we're in atmosphere now. Some of the blocks got damage from the thruster, but that's fine. We're gonna try flying it in atmosphere now with 2 respawn pods attached to the ship. Alright. So it's still pretty fast even with 2 respawn pod on it, so it can carry quite a lot. I think there's a full list of what it can carry in what planet on the actual Steam Workshop page if you're interested in reading that. So it's certainly very viable as a base ship. Alright, I'm gonna try to turn off the H2 generators now and see how long the fuel will last in atmosphere without the H2 generators. So it can last quite a while because it has quite a lot of upward thrust atmospheric engines or thrusters, so you can easily get about 1 hour of fuel time in atmosphere if you're just like floating and stuff. So that's the CHI-29 carrier by DASHEDM. My only suggestions for the ship is it probably needs a lot more H2 generators, and because of the size it can probably use a store block and a contracts block, and that will just increase the usefulness of the ship by a little bit more. And of course this is not a PvP ship, but if you want to give it a decent amount of protection or defense, you can certainly delete some of the unnecessary stuff and then add some guns. Alright, I'm gonna try to crash this now. I'm gonna crash this down the hill. I like how the respawn pods just got flung up like that. Alright, that's the CHI-29 carrier by DASHEDM. You can find the link in the description below.